Hey, what's going on, guys? Demon Slayer Volume 2 English set list is officially here, so we're going to start diving into all of the different colors, starting with blue here. Before we dive into the actual set, though, did just want to break down some stuff about Demon Slayer Volume 2. If you don't know, Volume 2 is the expansion off of Volume 1, so outside of the new color blue, you are going to have a lot of cards from the previous sets to dive into if you don't know. So you are going to need some Volume 1 cards in order to play the Volume 2 colors outside of blue, since blue doesn't exist, obviously. But yeah, officially releasing on December 12th, which means the release events are going to be starting like on the 5th around here, maybe a little earlier than that. And yeah, with that, there's going to be a serialized Nezuko that you're going to be chasing in the set. Unfortunately, that means this is a serialized set, which means the 2 stars, again, if you don't know, are going to be just essentially alternate arts, whereas if this was a normal signature set, how most of the sets usually come, that means the 2 stars would be signatures. So generally we see these alt arts going for a lower value, but still these look super good. It's just crazy that these are case hits, you know, just these alternate art cards. But if you pull the serialized Nezuko, very cool. But yeah, there's going to be some really nice arts in here. Demon Slayer has some of the best alternate arts. Also wanted to mention that the promo cards, if anyone was aware, in Japan, I believe this was a set of Demon Slayer, there was some One Punch, I think they were all part of the same thing. Either way, we're getting them added to our main set, sort of like how the Hashira premium set was added to Volume 1. These are just going to be added into the main set. An exclusive Nezuko, an exclusive Akaza, and an exclusive Rengoku, who, yeah, initially were not part of the main sets in Japan, but are going to be part of this main set. So yeah, very good cards. These are going to be very standout cards, very good parts of the decks that they're part of. But yeah, with that, diving into the blue set here, this is going to be a very interesting color. It definitely looks good. It has a pretty solid mechanic that it's shooting for in each of the decks. You've got a Tanjiro Nezuko deck, as well as the 2 Hashiras. It's based around the Swordsmith village arc, if you're not aware, with Muichiro and Mitsuri here. And yeah, the thing about the deck that's really kind of making me not super confident in it is no matter what deck you're choosing, you're pretty dependent on your site, especially the Tanjiro Nezuko. Granted, the sites are really good, and you have this really strong site here as well, the Swordsmith Village, that'll go in any of the decks to help you like filter. Great deck filtering and draw power, but man, if you're not seeing your sites, I just feel like the decks are not going to play that well. And at the end of the day, when you're dependent on a site and then you finally get your site set up, there's going to be points in the game where you want to push up cards and your sites are not going to be able to do that, right? So yeah, don't know if blue is going to be a super top tier color because of that. I do think it has some good mechanics and it's really interesting what it can do, and does have some strong end games for sure, I feel like, in a lot of the decks, again, with good draw power to hopefully help you get there. You've also got these Swordsmith village characters in the deck that you can run to help you search for those site cards. Again, don't know if they're really, if it's going to play out that well, because you're either going to whiff and not see the sites, you're going to bottom deck some really good stuff. But at the end of the day, the raids and stuff, you know, it's not going to be a bad deck. These are not going to be unplayable by any means, but I don't think blue is going to be a super top tier standout color. With that, we've also pretty much got it split into 2 decks here. You definitely can do some color mixing for sure. Tanjiro and Nezuko, the 2 raids, definitely want to be played together, no doubt. On top of that, you've got site cards you need to run, so it's going to be really hard to splash in cards, I think, with the Tanjiro Nezuko. I feel like maybe Mitsuri might be a good splash in, because she's like the least site-dependent character out of the 3, because they all have their own Nichirin-specific swords, which is a site card that you're using for them, and it only targets them. It's a really interesting color. It's really interesting, and it's not bad, but it's interesting. Right? I just don't think it's going to be top tier, not super fast paced, and, you know, not playing into all the mechanics that we want to see in Union Arena, essentially. But again, they're going to be good, fun, playable decks at the very least. Muichiro and Tanjiro are sort of in their own decks, even though they all have their own specials and stuff, so they technically do have their own decks here. They all have their own specials, their own raids, but yeah, you can do some mixing between the Hashiras and maybe splashing them into Tanjiro and Nezuko. Tanjiro and Nezuko playing into some really strong draw power. Tanjiro bouncing Nezuko back in order to sideline a 4K. I don't know how good that's going to feel. That's sort of the main game plan, as well as doing some stuff with your, like basically a lot of deck filtering with the Nichirin sword for Tanjiro. And then again, a lot of draw power with the Nezukos. That's essentially what they're doing. And then Mitsuri definitely has like one of the best looking abilities here. It's just a simply when played, your opponent bounces back a character to their hand. It sucks that your opponent chooses, but it's still a raid bounce back a character, right? So constant removal is going to hurt your opponent, which is really nice to see. If you can mix her with the Tanjiro potentially, and then specials, that's a lot of removal, right, at the end of the day, slowing your opponent down in action points. So that is sort of the build I'm looking at. And then Muichiro looks really interesting here, sort of in his own deck, I feel like, but again, you can splash in Mitsuri at the very least, I'm sure. allowing you to give him some really good protection from your opponent, including snipe protection as well. And then on top of that, he's playing into his whole deck, not being able to be blocked by certain characters, and then reducing that number that your opponent can't block with. So like if they have a 4K and you can't be blocked by a 2, you can reduce that 4 down to a 2, essentially guaranteeing attacks through. So that it is going to look pretty strong compared to the top tier meta decks that are super fast paced, removing stuff. We're going to have to see how these play for sure. And again, I just feel like being so site dependent is going to slow these decks down a little bit, but don't count them out. I think they're going to be pretty solid. They're not going to be bad decks at all. We got to see them in action a little more. But yeah, we'll start it out here with the main character. We might as well. Tanjiro. Yeah, part of the Tanjiro Nezuko deck. They're very dependent on each other. And then again, dependent on a site. At that point, it's going to be really hard to squeeze in extra cards. But you can definitely find the room for some with the other Hashira cards. But with that, 4-cost raid Tanjiro. Yeah, so his main thing when played, you can bounce back a Nezuko on your field to your hand. Then you have to trash a card as well, and then you can choose a character on your opponent's front line with 4K or less BP and sideline it. It's a lot of conditions to fulfill just to sideline a 4K, but with the draw power in this deck, it might feel okay. I just wish there was free plays, you know what I mean? Play a free body off of some abilities in order to really play into the bouncing back, because you are hurting yourself in the end, bouncing back cards, right? And with how this deck is playing, you want to bounce back the Raid Nezuko. You also have a once per turn when this character is chosen by the Nichirin sword, which, by the way, you have to choose each character with their own Nichirin sword. It's really worded weird here, where it says, you know, when he's chosen by the ability of one of your Nichirin sword affinity cards. Granted, all of your Nichirin swords can only target certain characters. With that, he gets impact. So, yeah, I mean, not a bad card, especially a 4-cost, which that's something to mention as well. A lot of good double energy generation in blue, and your highest cost being 5. So that's something to mention too. It's a really low cost, really good energy generating color set essentially, and a lot of draw power too. So it is going to play it pretty well. Just don't know if it's going to stand out as top tier. Anyways, with bouncing back cards, bouncing back Nezuko in order to sideline cards, this is going to be your prime target. Your raid, 3-cost Nezuko, very similar to the yellow set, right, with their costs. If this character is returned from your field to your hand, return this rated character and its base card from your hand instead. To your hand instead. So if you don't know, in this game, when you bounce back or just at any point send a rated card from the field to anywhere else, it will automatically sideline the bottom card underneath it that you rated on top of. So with this Nezuko, when it gets bounced back, and this actually applies to your opponent's cards too, like a UG bounce back or something, when it goes back to hand, you get to take the card that you rated on top of as well. So gives you more options to trash, I guess, keep your hand full. But that's pretty much it. That's the big advantage there. During your turn, if Tanjiro is on the field, she's going to be a 4K. And then when played, this is pretty nice. If you have Tanjiro on your field, you get to draw a card. And then if you have Tanjiro and his Nichirin sword on the field, you get to draw 2 and then place 1 from your hand to the top of your deck or the bottom, which isn't terrible, but yeah. I mean, again, it's not bad. It's not bad, right? If you're seeing the site in your opening hand and you have the Tanjiro set up and you're just easily doing the draw 2, place maybe a good card on top or a bad card on the bottom, get it out of the way. It's going to be a nice feeling ability, but again, at the end of the day, when you're having to bounce back your own Nezukos, you know, your own bodies on the field, it might feel a little bad. Now, at the end of the day, you don't have to bounce back your raid, right? You can bounce back a rested small body. There's a lot of Nezukos in this set. But yeah, with that, dude, yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see. Bouncing back your own cards and then not having free plays with it. We'll see how good it plays. But with the draw power, maybe you see your finals enough and you can do some stuff. And then we'll take a look at Tanjiro's Nichirin sword, because it actually is probably one of the best of the 3 in my opinion. But real quick, we do have this brand new Nezuko. I say brand new because she's not actually part of the second set. As you can see, it's a promo card. But yeah, really new, good Nezuko who's going to play well into this. 0 cost as well. When played, you get to choose one of your Tanjiro's Nichirin swords, the site, and switch it to active, so you can rest it again and select another character, because that's what it's doing. You rest it to select a Tanjiro. That's what they're all doing. Rest them to select characters. And then if you, at any point this turn, have rated your Tanjiro or Nezuko cards, it has to be blue, you get to draw a card when you play her. So this does also play into the nice, like, you bounce this card that was rated back to your hand, and then you just play her, get the draw as well. Again, the draw power is there. It's just going to come down to, are you putting yourself back on action points too hard, you know? But yeah, really good 0 cost that I'm glad we got in this. It's going to help a little bit. And then taking a look at Tanjiro's Nichirin Sword, I believe all of them are 2 costs. Realistically, they're all the same, minus what their effect is. So they can all target their specific character, they all come out set to active, and then you rest them to get an ability. So switch this one to resting, target a Tanjiro, it'll gain 1,000. I believe they also all gain 1,000. So yeah, very similar cards here. And then you may look at the top card of your deck. If you do, place it on the top of your deck or on the bottom of your deck. So every turn you can do a filter with this. So it's going to be really nice. On top of that, you also can't choose characters that have been targeted with the Nichirin Sword ability already. So keep in mind, if you are using this site twice in a turn, you do need 2 Tanjiros to target. But yeah, with the add to hand trigger as well as all the sites are going to have, I mean, it is a great card. It's only a 2 cost, so it's not going to be bad to set up. I just feel like there's going to be those occasional games where you don't see it. Hell, you're really unfortunate and you go up against, like, I don't know, Mechamaru or something, and it's taking out your sights, dude. The deck's just going to fall apart. On top of that, there's been plenty of games I've played in the past where it doesn't matter what I'm playing or what I'm up against. It comes down to the fact that I have 4 active characters on the energy line that I can just push up in endgame to win. If you have this site, and especially the other site that we're about to dive into, which I do think you want both set up at all times, you're pretty much cutting down your energy line in half. We saw it with blue slots. Too many sites, too many event cards can definitely just not play well into a deck. Granted, these are not bad sites, right? But just wanted to mention that now. Characters, actual characters, bodies on the field are just really strong. One more thing, real quick about Tanjiro, his special, which is also site dependent. I just feel like this could feel so bad if you don't have your site. So it's a 3 cost, which is cool, special. Sideline a 3k or less on your opponent's front line. If you have Tanjiro on your field, you can target a 4k. And then the only way to target a 5k is if you have Tanjiro and the Nichirin Sword. Again, we've got plenty of ways to search for it. It's an add-to-hand trigger if it's in life. Yada, yada, yada. But imagine just not having the site, dude. It's possible. It's possible. Now, again, a lot of deck filtering, which we'll get into right here. I think this is the card that definitely gives me the most hope in the deck. This is, in my opinion, going to be a 4 of in probably no matter what blue deck you're playing, just because it's such a good deck filtering card. 3 cost Swordsmith Village card. Also, keep in mind it does have the Swordsmith Village affinity, which is very important for some cards, as you'll see with this. So play this site set to active main, switch it to resting, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Swordsmith Village affinity or Nichirin Sword affinity card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the top of your deck in any order, so no matter how often you're using this card to deck filter every turn, you can still just keep those cards on top. And if you're not taking a card, you get to reorganize them. So that's not bad, doing that every turn for free. And then if you do take a card, though, with one of those 2 affinities, you do have to trash a card from your hand. Very understandable. Add to hand trigger, and it's a double energy generator. So this is a great site, in my opinion. Maybe it's a 3 of, I don't know, whatever you want to end up doing. But I feel like having this set up early is just going to be so good. Even if you do, even if you do have your full setup, right? Even if you do have this setup with your Nichirin Sword turn 1, it's going to be so nice being able to use this to filter. And like, if you see this site over and over with this site, you can just add it to hand and trash it, right? Deck filtering, thinning is winning, right? Thinning is winning. So Swordsmith Village, 3 cost. I think this is going to be a great addition to both of the decks for sure. And if anything, is going to help even more with like being able to run multiple Nichirin Affinity Swords. But yeah, with that, very important cards. I feel like they're more important than the raid targets because now we're going to the raid targets at this point. We have our Tanjiro here, our color trigger for this deck, which it's really interesting. I don't think we've seen a color with 3 specials, 3 color triggers, and in this case, 3 sites that are all character specific. That's pretty crazy, which this set does have. So yeah, 3 cost Tanjiro. Once per turn, when this character is chosen by an ability of one of your Nichirin Sword cards, choose a Nezuko on your field, and it gains 1,000 BP till the end of the turn. Now, that is one thing this deck is doing very well. Obviously, with the sites just buffing, is you are able to buff up your 3Ks and stuff to a pretty solid number, having constant like 4Ks and stuff on your turn. So that can be really nice for early turn aggro. And then active main, if on the front line, pay an action point once per turn, you can choose a Nezuko on your field. It gains 1,000 BP till the end of the turn. So yeah, again, just being able to constantly get your 3Ks up to 4, maybe even 5, 6, 7. You can get some pretty strong bodies on the board. Yeah, the color trigger for blue, bounce back at 3,500. I mean, again, just playing into the removal with how much removal you can put into one deck, this honestly might be pretty solid. 3k BP and double energy generator. So yeah, that is our color trigger Tanjiro. Really good addition, especially because of the double energy gen. Are they all double energy generator color triggers? I almost feel like they are. The Mitsuri's conditional, that's right, that's right. But the Muichiro is. Anyways, we have another 1-cost Tanjiro here. Once per turn, when this character is chosen by the ability of your Nichirin Sword Affinity card, it gains 500. No trigger, but that's a great ability. So he's a 2500. You target him with the Nichirin Sword, he automatically goes to 3, right, because of his own ability. And then the Nichirin Sword is making him a 4K because it gives him the 1K buff. So overall, a 1-cost 4K. Again, this one thing this deck is going to undoubtedly do is pressure your opponent with small bodies. That's for sure. So while the sites, it's interesting, right? You have a lot of opportunities to buff your small bodies, play them on the red energy line, push them up. Yeah, you just want to make sure you're constantly doing that. Your sights don't set you back too much. But again, I think, yeah, with the filtering, the draw power, I want to see these decks perform well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do stand out a little bit, especially, yeah, we'll see. 0-cost Tanjiro, though, add to hand our generic raid target. And then taking a look at the Nezuko cards here, 2-cost Nezuko. When attacking, look at the top card of your deck, and then place it on the top of your deck. If that card is Tanjiro or Tanjiro's Nichirin Sword, you may reveal it. If you do, this character gains 1k BP until the end of the turn, and place the revealed card on top of your deck. So you don't really get to take the card, but it's a way to buff Nezuko to 4k, again, playing into the whole small bodies, rushing for big numbers. 1-cost Nezuko here. When played, draw a card and then place 1 card from your hand on top of your deck or on the bottom of your deck with a draw trigger, 2k BP. Overall, I feel like this is like a draw trash, but it could play into some interesting turns where, like, for example, this Nezuko card here, right? You put back a card on top of your deck that you know you're going to reveal and make her a 4k. Again, I don't know if your overall game plan being just making small bodies big on your turn is going to be super effective. But with the removal, with the draw power, with the filtering, we'll see what happens with this. 0-cost Nezuko, when played, look at the top card of your deck and then place it on the top or bottom, literally the 0 version of the 1. I feel like you probably do want to run at least a couple of her still with that other Nezuko, just because, as you can see, it's a very Tanjiro Nezuko dependent build here. But again, you're going to have to find room for all the cards you're trying to run, right? Because on top of the Nezuko and the Tanjiros and the Nichirin Swords, we also have the Sword... Oh, wait, that was not it. We also have the Swordsmith Village characters, which I feel like you've got to at least run some sort of Swordsmith Village searcher, right? At least one. And I hate these zeros, bro. I hate them. I hate having to play this searcher when I don't want to, but he's my only 0 in hand. But we do have a 0-cost Tekken? I don't remember their names. When played, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Swordsmith Village or Nichirin Sword Affinity card among them, add it to your hand, place the remaining on the bottom of your deck, and then if you added a card to your hand, trash a card. I remember the Riza Hawkeye one. I was like, oh, this card can search out Riza Hawkeyes, and I was like, I hate it. I hate getting this as my only 0, and then I have to search, and I don't want to, because I have good cards. I don't know. Searching in this game can really hurt you, all right? I'll just say it now. Searching in this game can really hurt you. Or searching off a 0 can be fantastic. Who knows? But in my opinion, the one I'm going to be running the most, I feel like, because I feel like you got to at least run some sort of searcher, right, in this, with the Swordsmith Village, especially with this sight card also, just like playing into the whole like helping you filter. Anyways, this guy looks really cool. 3-cost Hotaru. When played, choose one of the following. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Nichirin Sword Affinity card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining on the bottom in any order, so there is no trash, luckily, if you're just looking for your Nichirin Sword. Or, if you already have your Nichirin Sword Affinity card set up your field, you get to just draw a card when played. With a double energy generator draw trigger, I think this guy's going to be pretty solid. And it's not just a no trash search, but it's an optional search, dude. That's so good. I wish these searches, like this 0, for example, I really wish it said, look at up to the top 4 cards of your deck. I really wish it said that, because there's so many turns where I don't think I would want to risk the search. Like, I just have such a good looking hand, or maybe I know what's next. Maybe I filtered with this card. I know what the top 2 are, but I don't really have many other options to play stuff. I don't know. I'm overthinking here, but you never know. Either way, this card, Hotaru, I think he's going to be a great addition. We do also have this 4-cost Yorichi Type 0, the training dummy. Again, all Swordsmith Village affinity cards. So, if you're running this Swordsmith Village card here, you can actually like filter them out. On top of that, he can actually search out your other Swordsmith Village cards, which I guess is good for finding this site as well. I don't know. There's draw power and filtering though, right? So do we really need all this searching? Me personally, I like drawing and filtering the top cards, right? Over searching 7 and not seeing a Nichirin Sword and seeing raids and specials that are going to the bottom, right? With that, this guy's at least a 4 cost. When sidelined, you get to choose one of the following. So yeah, look at the top 7, reveal a Nichirin Sword Affinity card, add it to your hand, no trash. Or you can add a Nichirin Sword Affinity card from your sideline to your hand. Again, a nice optional search, even if you don't have one in sideline and you don't, if there's a situation where you don't want to search, right? You have your site set up, there's no reason to even risk bottom decking good cards. You can just not search, which is pretty cool. He's also a 4K with the active trigger, so very nice addition. It's nice that he also has the active trigger too. So these are good cards, it's just be careful with searching in this game. I'll say that. I really like this optional draw because I'm already set up, right? Help me set up, or I'm set up, so thank you for the draw. That's really good. And double energy, I really like Hotaru. Some other Swordsmith Village cards, I don't know if you want to run, I don't think they're necessary. The 1 cost Kotetsu are traditional when played, bounce back a 1 or less. If you can't, he has to go back to hand, but he's a double gen. Just don't think he's necessary in this. We don't need double energy generation that bad. Same with this guy, one of the best double energy gens in all colors, 2 cost Kozo. If he's active, he's generating 2 energy. I mean, if you're really desperate for energy and you find yourself struggling, that's my go-to, but overall, I don't think they're necessary. We have double energies everywhere, especially if you end up going with Hotetsu, or not Hotetsu, Hotaru. I hope that's right. Hotaru? I do not remember. I barely remember this arc. One of the last things to mention for the Tanjiro and Nezuko deck is going to be this 2 cost, the Raging Sword event card. Choose 1 character on your field that has been chosen by the ability of one of your Nichirin Sword Affinity cards. This turn, it gains 1k BP and impact or damage +1 until the end of the turn. Draw a card. So you could actually run this, even though it's Tanjiro and Nezuko and the Raging Sword, these flames. I'm pretty sure this is a Nezuko thing, right? If I remember correctly. You can run this in any deck, though. It's not specific to them. And I mean, that is actually pretty solid. I'm not going to lie. I hate event cards just because for 1 action point, I'd rather play something on the field or remove something from your front line or whatever. But this isn't terrible, actually. You also get to draw as well, and you could really pressure your opponent with like a damage, impact 1, damage 2, or something along those lines. There's no force blocks, so the impact +1 I don't think is going to be too good. Getting like an impact 2 character in this deck I don't think is going to matter too much. But giving a character impact and they have damage 2, like I think there's a Mitsuri, that wouldn't be terrible. And then before we dive into the Hashiras, we might as well clear out this page here. We've got some Genya cards. He did have a little bit of an arc in this, right? Turns into a demon or whatever. Spoilers. 4 cost, 2 action point Genya. Play this character set to active on your field. When sidelined, you may add this character to your hand with the add to hand trigger. He's a 4K. I mean, this ain't a terrible 2 action point body. You just keep spamming out. But I mean, 2 action points, I don't know. Man, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think he's going to be ran too much. But, I mean, it could be good, right? It could be good, maybe, probably not. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be super good. 3 cost, Genya, nullify impact, active trigger, 3500 BP. I mean, listen. If you're just looking for a 3 cost to slap in, this is the one, right? A nullify impact with 3500 and he has a trigger. Nullify impact can save you in some games. You'd be shocked. And then 0 cost Genya, draw trigger 2k BP. Honestly, not a bad 0 if you're just looking for like your last 0 for ramp. Really not bad. And then our generic 0 cost, active main, switch this character to resting. They'll generate double energy until the attack phase, right? End of your main phase, then you have to sideline them. Again, not necessary. We're not that desperate for double energy in this. And then actually not a bad card in this. This is a newer one. 1 cost Kakushi. When played, choose one of the following. Choose 1 character on your field to move it to the other line, or you can choose a character on your front line and energy line and swap them. Not a bad card when played, especially if you're just like trying to rush. Honestly, with how these decks are playing, since you're able to just push up these smaller bodies and like early game go for big swings, this isn't a terrible card. Sucks it doesn't have a trigger, but like, yeah, I'm down to play this card rested to push up the Nezuko I played the last turn, who's now gonna hopefully be like buffed up somehow with like, I don't know, whatever. I guess maybe this Nezuko, right? But yeah, honestly, not a terrible addition. It's just the no trigger, and with how many sites and different characters for raiding, and it's going to be hard to squeeze it in, I'll say that. That's the one thing about these decks, is they're looking for very, very specific setups and very specific cards, which is going to limit you on what you can actually put into these decks, I feel like. And now diving into the Hashiras that we've got in the blue color here. Starting it out with Mitsuri, who I feel like is going to be the most versatile of the raid cards in this set. If there's any raid card Like if you're building a Muichiro deck or if you're building a Tanjiro deck, I feel like Mitsuri is going to be the best option to like try to splash in. Just because she's the least site dependent. She's really good just as a raid by herself without her site again. Because like, I feel like if you're running multiple of any of these raids, you don't want to splash in multiple of their sites just because you're playing for consistency here. In my opinion, I'd rather run 4 of the good site that I really want versus like 2 and 2 because I feel like I need her site when I really don't, you know. Again, this is going to be a super like customizable set. You can mix a lot. It's going to be super flavor built. I'm very interested to see how it goes, but me personally, I'm leaning towards less of Mitsuri's site and more of like the other 2 with Mitsuri splashed in. Anyways, with all that said, we've got 5 cost Mitsuri. She's going to be a raid nullify impact, which is fantastic. Once per turn, if you do choose her with her Nichirin Sword affinity card, she just straight up gains 1000. And then when played, your opponent returns 1 character from their front line to their hand. Really strong ability. Just kind of sucks that your opponent has to choose, but if you can special or remove, you know, the better target that you don't want them to return before you play this card, that, you know, limits them on their choices, which is great. And just putting your opponent back on action points is fantastic. So this is a great when played ability. And then when attacking, you can actually choose 1 other character on your field, and it gains 1000 BP till the end of the turn. So again, she's really helping play into the whole buff your smaller characters, so you're always swinging with 4Ks or more. And then the other Hashira raid card that we have, 5 cost Muichiro. So this card looks pretty strong. I think he's gonna have a pretty strong presence for sure. One of the best decks out of blue, in my opinion. Once per turn, when this character is chosen by an ability on one of your Nichirin Sword affinity cards, it gains this character cannot be blocked by a character with 3K or less. And then this character cannot be chosen by abilities on your opponent's characters, and it cannot be targeted by snipe until the start of your next turn. Dude, that is so good. That is so good. So yeah, a lot of the Muichiro cards are playing into the whole your opponent's 2Ks or 3Ks, generally 2. He's the only one with 3K. They or less cannot block me, essentially allowing you to swing in for free attacks that are unblockable, which could be very strong more towards the end of the game, right? Especially towards the end of the game. But on top of that, this character can only be targeted by event cards on your opponent's turn. That's really good. On top of the fact that he can't be targeted by snipe, we haven't really seen too many like straight up snipe protectors because if you don't know, it says it right here, being chosen by an ability is not the same as being chosen by snipe. So yeah, really strong Muichiro. I think this card is going to have a pretty strong presence. Again, that's just his effects also by getting chosen by his Nichirin Sword. When played, you can also choose 1 character with 2500 or more BP on your opponent's front line, and it loses 2000 BP till the end of the turn, allowing you to, if you see a 5K, boom, now you can't block me because you're a 3K. When attacking, you also get to draw a card and choose 1 character with 1500 or more BP on your opponent's front line, and it loses another 1000 BP till the end of the turn. So Muichiro's not just saying, hey, I'm swinging in, you can't block me, but it's also doing a lot of reducing of your opponent's BP, which is really good. So this is, again, I think this is going to be one of the best blue cards as long as it's playing out properly. He is unfortunately not sidelining anything by getting BP down to 0, but again, getting these, you know, getting enough you cannot block me turns in is going to be really strong. 4K raid trigger, obviously. And then just because they're a big part of the deck, we'll dive into the Nichirin Swords real quick. In my opinion, the worst of the 3, the least important of the 3, Mitsuri's Nichirin Sword. Play the site set to active. Only Mitsuri's can be targeted by this card. It gains 1000 BP till the end of the turn, like all the other ones say. And then her unique ability, you may place 1 card from your hand into the sideline for an additional 2K buff. So you can, essentially this card is plus 3K to your Mitsuri's, or a free plus 1K every turn, which again isn't terrible, but like if you are splashing her into the other 2, me personally, I think I'm like hard focusing the other sites, right? Because as you'll see here, Muichiro's is pretty good as well. You can only target Muichiro, it gains 1K, and this character cannot be blocked by a character with 2K or less until the end of the turn. So you can set up multiple Muichiros on your field that cannot be blocked by your opponent's cards. Yeah, in my opinion, Tanjiro's is the best, I'd say, and then Muichiro's, and then Mitsuri's for sure. Again, it sucks that you can only, I mean, it makes sense that you can only target their specific character. But yeah, it just plays into some really, really specific setup turns, right? Which hopefully doesn't get too annoying. Their specials are also pretty different as well. We might as well look at these two because these are honestly pretty standout. 4-cost, Love Breathing First Form, Shivers of First Love. This is Mitsuri's special. This one's pretty good. This might be one of the best. Choose up to one character with 5k or less on your opponent's front line, return it to their hand, and then if Mitsuri's on your field, draw a card and choose up to one Mitsuri on your field, and it gains +1 impact till the end of the turn. Again, it is saying +1 impact, so if there is a impact Mitsuri, you could stack the impacts, but in this deck, it's not going to matter too much. I think the best form of it is, well, one impact is just a game ender, which is so good. Your opponent just has to take it. On top of that, you can give it to, there's an impact 1 damage to Mitsuri, which could definitely come out for some good plays for sure. But at that point, you do need to run the Nichirin Sword. Just keep that in mind, as we'll get to. But yeah, anyways, this is a really good special. While it is a returning card to hand, in my opinion, removal's removal, even if it's going back to hand. And if I'm getting a draw out of it as well, I think this might be one of the best ones for sure. If not, Muichiro's is really, really good. 4-cost, it's one of the 2 action points that actually comes out as a 1 action point if you have Muichiro. Mist Breathing, 5th form, Sea of Clouds and Haze. You get to choose a character with 5k or less on your opponent's front line and place it on the bottom of their deck. So what's cool about this is you actually don't need Muichiro on your field. It's just going to come out as a 2 action point if you don't. But no, I mean, that's fantastic, right? If you have Muichiro, 1 action point, 4-cost, bottom deck of 5k, just straight up. I'd say this is like the best overall under most circumstances. But if I'm playing for endgame, dude, I want this. I want this all day of the week. If my opponent's down to 2 or 3 life, I want this. I want impact and I want to draw. I don't care how I'm removing your cards, right? I don't care if they're going back to hand or whatever. That's really, really good. And then taking a look at the raid targets that we've got for the Hashiras, we've got 4-cost Muichiro. You probably don't want to raid on top of this one, I'll be honest, but you could if you want. When attacking, if this character has been chosen by the affinity of your Nichirin Sword card, you get to choose one of the following. You can choose one character with 2,500 or more on your opponent's front line, and it loses 2k BP till the end of the turn. Or you can choose 2 characters with 1,500 or more BP, and they each lose 1,000. Again, allowing you to really play into these crazy turns where I feel like in end game they're going to be stronger, but I mean, if you get them off consistently, 7 attacks that your opponent can't block is 7 attacks that your opponent can't block, right? Yeah, playing into these really crazy turns where maybe you can just turn off 3 of their blockers. That could be really good, right? That could be really, really, really good. And then 3-cost Muichiro, this is going to be our color trigger if you want to splash this one in. Again, remember, you can only have 4 colors per deck, so it doesn't matter who they are, you are going to have to pick 4. Keep that in mind, which again is also going to sort of make you have to, I feel like, sort of pick and choose who exactly is going to be in your deck. There's no way you're running all these raid cards in one, right? There's no way that's going to work. 3-cost Muichiro, active main once per turn. You can only activate this ability if this character has been chosen by your Nichirin Sword card. Move this character to the other line. So he's a 3k double energy generator. I mean, it could be really nice having him like on the front line. I guess it would kind of... No, you definitely want to target him on the energy line and push him up. That's definitely what they want you to do. You use him for his energy. You're out of action points. You're ready to swing for game. Or whatever, you swing for the turn, and right before you do, you push him up with your Nichirin Sword card. That could be pretty good, and he also can't be blocked by 2k or less, right? I think Muichiro is going to be the biggest presence out of the 3. And then 2-cost Muichiro, when attacking, draw a card and then place 1 card from your hand into the sideline. No trigger, but a 3k raid target. This card looks fantastic, honestly. Not a bad card to run at all. And then 0-cost Muichiro, add to hand trigger, our generic raid target. And then taking a look at the Mitsuri cards here, this is going to be the other color trigger. Honestly, the worst of the 3 in my opinion, because they're all double energy generators, technically. This one's just conditional. So she's got double block, and she's a 3,500. But if the Nichirin Sword card's on your field, this character gains double energy generation. That's the only way she's a double energy gen. Granted, with the 3,500 and double block, she gets a lot more value on the front line, obviously. But I think at the end of the day, I'm probably taking the other double energy gens over her. Like if I am, especially like doing the mixing, right? Because I have to pick and choose. But yeah, at the end of the day, like she'll be great in her own build where you have her Nichirin Sword for sure. Again, I'm excited to see all the builds because I think there's going to be a lot of different, you know, tests and brews that we see have a lot of success potentially. Then we have 4-cost Mitsuri. During your turn, once per turn, when this character is chosen by her Nichirin Sword card, she's going to gain damage 2 till the end of the turn. Definitely one of the best cards for her Nichirin Sword, since you can essentially make her like what is hers? Like an 8k, 7k damage 2. You can also give her impact potentially with her special. This is definitely going to be, like in her own build, especially with her special, with her Nichirin Sword, one of the best cards when you get her set up. And then 1 cost Mitsuri. When sidelined, choose 1 character on your field and it'll gain 1k BP till the end of the turn. Honestly, a fantastic 1-drop, an active trigger 2k. Really good just for like staying in the game a little bit longer. Obviously a great raid target if you need a raid on top of her, but just good for sidelining her and then buffing one of your other cards, especially if you are playing into like the whole sort of smaller bodies mentality. Also, this will be really, really good with the double blocker, won't it? Ooh, that'll be so good. Imagine that turn. You literally have them both on the front line. They swing 1 time, especially if they have 4 attackers, right? And they could be 4Ks. You block with her, you buff your Mitsuri, and now you got a 4500 double blocker for the turn. That's pretty solid. I like that combo. And then 0 cost Mitsuri, nullify impact, no trigger, 2k BP. Not a bad card. I mean, obviously, if you're running the raid, I'd say run the 0, in my opinion, even if it's not the get trigger. And nullify impact can save you in some games. You never know. And then your final for the set is going to be the Mark. If you don't know, obviously, ties into the whole theme of the arc here. Very cool. But yeah, with that, guys, that is going to be every single blue Demon Slayer card. I'm really interested to see how this set's going to play out. I'm very curious to see if Tanjiro Nezuko is going to be good, because I just don't see any world where removing your own cards on the field helps you, because you're not playing into the action point game well enough to make this justifiable, right? If there was like a free play character or something, it'd be really, really, really nice. Maybe I'm missing something with it, and maybe it will be pretty solid, but yeah, we'll have to see. I'm also, with this being a pretty site dependent set, I'm very nervous about it. About that in general. On top of that, like, always got to keep in mind decks like Red Kenshin or just pushback in general. If they are pushing your cards back into a full energy line and you have to pick and choose what to remove, you're not going to want to remove sites, so that means you're going to have to remove characters, which, you know, isn't going to feel fantastic. I don't know. We're going to have to see how this works. We're going to have to see how this goes. Overall, I think the Muichiro deck is going to stand out the most, and at the end of the day, the filtering and the draw power is really nice in this, and there is a lot of removal. That's how I'm seeing it. So me personally, I think I'm going for like a Hashira brew. Maybe I'll try out like Tanjiro Nezuko with Mitsuri, because then technically with the special as well, you're going for like almost like a 12 removal type of deck. That could be really, really, really strong. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to have to see what the builds come out to. I'm very curious. I'm very curious and excited to see what sort of deck builds we come up with. But yeah, boys, that is everything that we've got for the Blue Demon Slayer Volume 2 set. Let me know what stands out to you the most. Let me know if there's anything I missed, or if there's any cards that you think has way more value than I, gave credit for, or vice versa, whatever. And yeah, let me know which Demon Slayer deck you're excited to dive into most. Appreciate you guys watching, though, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.